All right, guys, it's 2 o'clock. We're going to get started here. My name's Andy King, and this is the Small Business Phoenix Rising Project. So welcome, everybody. Our crusade is to provide small business owners the tools, insights, and mentoring needed to get through this tough time and back to being successful and profitable. So, hey, just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started here. Looks like we're going to have kind of a small group. We usually have about 15 to 20 people, so we'll see. We're going to have a few people probably jump on here a little bit later. But we've kind of designed these to kind of do a little bit of a presentation, but also to be able to disseminate some good information. So most of the first part here that we're going to do is we're going to kind of open up the floor if you guys have questions about the PPP. We're also going to talk a little bit about opening up Texas, which businesses are open, the staging of that, and how that's going to work. So very good, very pertinent information. So with that being said, let me open up the discussion with the PPP. And so if you have a questions, you have a thought in regards to that, the PPP is the Paycheck Protection Program. We've actually been talking about that for about the last 2 months, what banks are actually funding, which ones aren't. So if I could, I'm actually going to call on John Stacy here and say, John, you got a bit of an update on that for us?
The PPP, I mean, things are moving forward. I think the ongoing challenge is I've heard that they're in the process of running out of money again. And so I'm not sure what's going to happen at this point from a funding perspective. So that's really where we are with the PPP. On the emergency loan, I'm hearing that people have gotten some money on the initial potentially $10,000. It actually turns out that was changed. It's $1,000 per employee up to $10,000 on the emergency grant. And that's really all I have unless someone else has something else on that specifically.
Yeah, so the banks that, and since we've been having this conversation the last couple of months, the banks that are actually getting the PPP done are the smaller community banks. The Wells Fargos, the Chases, as hard as they try, there's just seems to be a whole lot of red tape. Anybody on here that has recently gotten funded or has had experience they want to share, or if you want to, you can use this as a therapy session. You can start yelling and screaming about the fact of how frustrated you are with the banks. We understand.
Yeah, actually, I financial advisor work with a lot of business owners, which is what brings me here today, is just kind of seeing what y'all have going on. But yeah, a lot of my clients have received the checks from PPP, work some larger companies that have gotten theirs. They're still technically under 500 employees, so it's not really the people we like to see that get money get it. I'm obviously also seeing some smaller companies or smaller business owners get it, as well as that emergency fund. I don't know particular banks off the top of my head. I have a few lenders and loaners that I know that are in my wheelhouse that have been able to get that done for the clients who didn't already have a pre-existing relationship with a bank that does the PPP program. So
Landon, did you help the Lakers secure their money?
That was not me. No, no. I've other companies, but I'm not a part of that at all.
I'm joking. So, all right. Anybody else got anything right now they want to share? Yes, John Lambsbaum, please go ahead.
It took a while, but we got funded this week.
Sweet. Good job.
So they did make us, you bring up the Lakers, it actually cracks me up because how in the hell did the Lakers get funded? And we had to go back, and after our application, we had to amend our application 3 different times.
Yeah.
But we finally got the money.
Yeah.
So my least favorite team in all of pro sports is the Lakers.
Yeah. It gives you a good excuse to even hate them more now.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Good deal. Anybody else?
Andy, I've got a couple of things. I don't know whether there's folks online that are 1099 employees or independent contractors, but there's a program through TUC that's called the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. I have some material on it. I was a little confused with actually how to file for it, but I have some information I can share in the chat if people are interested.
Yeah. Please do. And then also, those of you that are new, we actually record this whole session. And then when I get done, I actually put it in the email. And so each of you will get this. You'll get the slides. You'll get all the information. You'll get what's in the chat box. Actually, you're probably going to have to copy, because I'm not sure if the chat box is going to show that. But please throw that in the chat box, Craig. That's really helpful for a lot of us. A lot of us have businesses that we rely a lot on 1099s. And though there's this means test between being an employee and being a 1099, it gets a little convoluted. The reality is so many of us really rely on 1099s and, run our entire businesses based on 1099s. So anybody else want to share?
My understanding with this, Andy, is that my baseline understanding is that you apply for unemployment as a disaster, and that's how you can potentially qualify. So,
Yeah.
But I'll put the documents I have. There are about 3 links, and folks can kind of go from there.
Cool. Yeah. So get into the chat box and then get that information. That's great. Thanks, Craig. All right. Anybody else? Okay. So if we don't have anybody else, let's move forward here. We're going to talk a little bit about Texas reopening. That's kind of the big thing right now. Certainly, let me introduce you to John Stacy. He is with AdviCoach, and in 2019, he was the AdviCoach Coach of the Year. And he has promised me, no uncertain terms, that he will be the 2020 AdviCoach. He's guaranteeing it. So John's got a lot of ability, got a lot of talents, worked with Fortune 500s. He actually works with my company called Pinpoint Marketing, and he's just been a great resource for us to kind of redirect, refocus. As business owners, as most of you know, it's sometimes very, very difficult to see the forest through the trees, and he helps us do that. So without any further, go ahead, John.
All right. Well, guess what? Texas, we're going to focus primarily on Texas at this point because that's where we all live. The good news is, depending on who you talk to, Texas is reopening. If you talk to some other people, they say we're opening too quick. So, there's always this divide about what's going on. But I really want to talk about a few things that are going on and make this a little bit interactive, because all of us are dealing with it on a regular basis. So I just really wanted to start with kind of the numbers. So as of this morning in Texas, the numbers are, there's 33,131 cases, there's 914 deaths, and those are things that you keep hearing. And I'm not sure, so if I look at county by county, Harris County has 6967, so just shy of 7,000 with 140 deaths. And you look at Montgomery County, I think that covers the bulk of us in here, 640 cases, so it's 10% of Harris County, and 115 deaths. So as you look at that, again, depending upon what side of the divide you're on, you can talk about how good or bad that is. I think if we start looking at some examples of some things, the concern is that in some cases, we're not over the hump yet. And there's an example that I kind of pulled up this morning. I know this is north of here, up in Paris, Texas, north of Dallas. But they were getting ready to go gangbusters. I think that they had 6 or a small number of people that had been infected. Then all of a sudden, guess what? In a nursing home, a bunch of people started dying. And, so all of a sudden, everybody hears that, okay, that's happening. And the one thing I say is, hey, now is not a good time to be in a nursing home. You look at, I think 20 to 30% of the deaths up in New York were in nursing homes. So I just wanted to say that, there's a lot of concern about opening or how fast we're opening at this point. And I think if anybody's been out there, life has changed. If you're going to the grocery store, you're seeing people with masks on, you're seeing the plastic partitions going up. But I think you're also seeing those things happen within the restaurants that you're going into. And maybe not all of them, but you can start seeing a lot of plexiglass barriers, and it's all about trying to protect people as much as possible. And I'm going to ask the question, so things started opening up on Friday. Over the weekend, some more things opened up. I think 5 or 6 malls opened up, at least on a temporary basis. But while these are large areas that are opening up, what we're seeing is there's really not been a lot of traffic within those areas. Now you can say, well, if you're on the beach, there's a lot more traffic and people were just tired of being cooped up and getting out. So I think that that in general, what I'm saying is life is changing. Restaurants were opening up, I think, 25%. And Craig, I know you deal with restaurants. I'm not sure if you've been any or if you've seen anything. I'm not sure how a restaurant owner can really make it at 25%. And I know we're starting to get employees back to work, but we're talking until May 18th. So Craig, have you been in some places?
I haven't yet, but I did get, I actually am trying to do some renewals for some of my restaurant clients, and one of them did reach out to me yesterday. So I'm going to be going into his location to talk with him. Again, I've been pretty skittish about wanting to, I'm concerned that some of my clients may close. I'm actually putting some of my clients into some energy contracts that allow for some flexibility with a 30-day notice with no early termination fees. So that's something where, even though the price may be a little bit higher, I'm kind of pushing folks that way as a potential out for them in case their businesses do close. But so far it's been, I haven't heard anything terribly upsetting, but I do get a lot from TRA, and I do keep an eye on the news, and there's been a lot of discussion that we may see a lot of closings. So I just saw a note the other day that Wendy's restaurants in California are stopping the ability to serve hamburgers because they're unable to get fresh ground beef. So look at that as a potential as well. So I'm not sure how the meat situation is also going to impact the restaurants being able to get product.
So who has some experience out there that would like to kind of talk about it? Been out to a restaurant, been out and about? Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, we ate Saturday night at a Mexican restaurant. I had the beef fajitas. My wife had the chicken enchiladas. It was very good. We actually had leftovers. We took them home, and it was a good experience. The restaurant we went to, I don't even remember the name of it. It's just a Mexican restaurant that's off the 290. But they actually had like every other table, kind of like with the sign that says, "Do not seat this table." And so it was a good experience. Everybody in the staff was wearing masks. Of course, we weren't wearing masks. It's kind of hard to eat when you have a mask on. But, you know, it felt pretty normal, and it felt pretty good. And I will say, and you know, and I'm not, believe me, I'm not patting myself on the back, but when the bill came, you know, it was like $25, $30. I tipped like $20 because I just know how badly these people, I mean, if I could have done 100 or if I could have done $1,000, I would have done that. You know, I'm not, not in that position, but with that being said, you know, we're actually going out to dinner tonight again, and I just take the whole family. That was my wife and I, and this time we're just going to go out to Chili's and just eat. And you know, I think it's important to kind of do that if you can, if you're in the position to do it, for sure, because there's so many people, especially in the hospitality industry, that have really been hurt.
I've seen a lot more folks out in patio dining. I did go by a couple of places yesterday and saw some people indoors, some people patio dining. I have seen notes from the TRA that they're really encouraging people to separate out their restaurants and you know, block seating out away from folks. I've seen everything from chairs on tables they don't want you to use to placards. I saw a note that one restaurant had pictures of famous people that they had put that where you couldn't sit. So everything from Barack and Michelle Obama to who's the Tiger King as well. So those were kind of some funny things.
Well, I guess I'm going to just kind of say this for John. I think John had ribs over the weekend because he was cooking at home. I just thought I'd say that. And he didn't invite anybody. So the one thing I will say with the good news, things are opening up. However, there's a number of businesses that still can't open up. And the things that I've seen is that the police and law enforcement in general has kind of been out in force, making sure that people aren't opening up too soon. So I think that they're giving out citations. I just saw an article. You've heard the Manly Salon. I think that, they opened up and then the police came in and shut them down. So a lot of these places, and by the way, as you can tell, I really need a haircut. I'm not sure if it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks yet, or when the next phase of opening up, and a lot of it's going to be dependent upon what happens over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Anybody want to talk about any of their experience, or as we begin opening up, or the impact on their business, or they're feeling any positive movement?
Well, just as opening up, there's a whole bunch of things that you can't get that you kind of want to get right now, or at least I do. If there really is going to be a meat shortage, I'm trying to stock up, but where do you store it? So I went to Sam's. Sam's would only sell me 1 package of each type of meat. They had no chicken. They had no, or they had some steak, but not a whole lot. Plenty of pork though. But even after buying it, I've only got limited freezer space. Sam's didn't have any freezers. Shocking. So Woodlands Online doesn't even have freezers, which is also kind of weird because they usually do. But with that all said, I think things are well, there was certainly a lot more traffic on the roads yesterday than there has been in weeks prior. And I'm hearing that from other people who do in-home services as well. It's just taking a lot longer to get places. So.
Anybody else have any other additional comments about Texas reopening and any of their experience before we move forward?
Well, I know we went out, and actually that's why I had to laugh about the traffic comment, because I follow the 290 Facebook page, and someone posted like a 3-car pileup, which is a horrible thing, but they kind of made the joke of, haha, we're out of quarantine because there's car accidents happening already again. But yeah, I know, I've been to a couple places. I know like all the fast food restaurants, pretty much everyone's doing drive-through. We're actually kind of interested to see how people would handle the 25%, but everywhere I've been hasn't opened up. And then, so I'm not like the business owner, but I think it's cool with the PPP. My team is actually doing upgrades and using it for income, but they're also using it just to upgrade the whole system, because of course in the middle of all of this, all of our technology like crashed. So I think it's cool that it's like, it's some good within my company is positive through all of this. And then, but yeah, no, it's just, I guess it's more like time for us to see like how everything will snowball effect.
Hey, Andy, it's my understanding that the hub is going to wait until they can get to about 50% capacity before they start having dine-in also. So I know about that. And we called Roberto's the other day, and they are still just doing carry-out. And that's basically been our experience. I've been cooking.
Anybody else?
I thought it was interesting. I saw it at the car wash. You go to the car wash, no problem, and then you turn in to get to the vacuum cleaners, and every other row is marked off with tape. And I just thought it was pretty interesting that, I kept getting charged by the car wash, even though I didn't even know it was still open. And sure enough, it was just open, but you couldn't use the vacuum cleaners. But it was just interesting that I went through, because I'm like, look, if you're going to charge me, I'm actually going to use this. And went through, and then I saw them the day before everything was opening, taking off the vacuums for specific stalls. And I just thought, okay, there's an essential business coming back, especially since we've all been sitting, our cars have been mostly sitting in our driveway, and now they're dirty. And I'm like, okay, well, and then just watching the how people handle gas. I mean, it was interesting. I didn't see anybody wearing gloves, pumping gas. And I just thought that's one area where Costco does a great job. They're out there pretty much every single time you move through the cleaning it up. But I was at Walmart and I didn't see anybody. I didn't see anybody with in the car wash. In the gas station. But it was interesting because in the in the front of Walmart, and the same with Home Depot now. You have to line up, and they let you in, and they give you a cart, and they let you in at a certain time, and all that kind of stuff. So it's just interesting that they did it at their front of the building, but they didn't do anything with the gas.
Hmm.
All right. Anybody else? Take it away, Andy.
Okay. Somebody else was going to say something? Is that you, Donna? Go ahead.
I haven't been out much right now, but I was out more during the other. I was just kind of stepping back and seeing, because I know a lot of people wanted to get out once they were opened up. But I noticed from my Instagram feeds that restaurants are about 50-50, whether they opened up their restaurants or they're still doing curbside. It's kind of a mix. So that's just my experience. I'm going to go out tonight and get tacos for Taco Tuesday and Cinco de Mayo, get a margarita. So I'll see how that works on the Mexican restaurant by my house.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you. So thank you to John. Here's John Stacy's email. John, why don't you go ahead and do your offer as far as consultation real quick?
Well, yeah, I appreciate it, Andy. One of the things that I do as a coach is really work to find out what we can do to help people. And what I'm offering people is a free hour, just a Zoom call. Let's kind of talk. Let's see where you are. Let's see what challenges you're having. Maybe we can come up with some ideas to help you move forward in your business, especially during these times. So if you want to email me, I will follow up, and we'll get a call scheduled and really just have a chat. You have someone else to listen to, get a second opinion. Thank you.
Good. Great. Thank you, John. Okay, so today we're going to do a case study, but I just have to let you guys know, if you see me sweating, it's because I am. Our air conditioner, our office has gone out. We're on the 4th floor, and of course, all the heat goes straight up to the 4th floor. So I think I'm about 85 degrees in here, but I'll make it through this. So today we're going to talk about Claude Hopkins. He's written a book, several books. He was actually alive from 1866 to 1932. And for many people, he is kind of considered kind of the father of modern advertising and marketing. Many of the things that he is done with the products back in his day are really the models that most companies even today use when they market and they advertise their products and services. And it's interesting because a lot of us, especially when we get into kind of the millennial generation, especially the people that are out there talking to you about SEO, they're talking about Facebook, they're not aware of some of the processes and tools that really are the things that really make the difference on marketing and advertising. So here's kind of a slew of books. I've read about 2 or 3 of his books. I've read My Life in Advertising and Scientific Advertising. Very good, very insightful. He is by far really kind of the basis of what modern advertising is based on. Back in the early 1900s, he was being paid $175,000 a year for a marketing agency he was out of Chicago. Equivalency today is about $5 million a year. So he, in today's money, so he's very successful, very good. So I'm actually going to cover one of his case studies. So everybody heard of Schlitz beer? It's not really that popular of a beer, but back in the early 1900s, Schlitz beer was about number 14 in terms of beers. Anheuser-Busch was number 1. It's always kind of been number 1, but Schlitz beer was just kind of way down in the pack. And they ended up hiring Claude Hopkins, and he was brought into the brewery. And back, 100 years ago, it wasn't really popular to go into a brewery and have this whole tour of it, take a look at the equipment. Now today it's very popular, especially with these microbreweries. In fact, they actually display all the equipment, the big vat. They actually show you how they make the beer. But back then they didn't do that. They didn't even talk about it. So he was brought in, and he wanted to take a tour of the facility. He wanted to get to know the product before he was going to get out there and put together a marketing message. So he was with the big wigs, with all the executives, the CEO of the company, and they were showing him the whole brewery. And he was amazed because he'd never seen anything like that. They showed the artesian well that they go down, they get the water, the big vats that they sterilize. And, to the consumer, to him, he'd never seen anything like it, and he thought it was amazing. And he told them, I said, look, this is what we need to do, is we need to tell the consumer how you guys make beer. And all the executives started laughing at him, and they said, well, why would we do that? Because we make beer with the exact same process, the exact same way Anheuser-Busch and every other beer company. And he said, no, trust me on this. If we tell your story about how you make beer, it's going to work, and we're going to get more market share. So they acquiesced to his request, and they kind of did begrudgingly. But so he went ahead and he started this whole process of telling the process of how the beer was made and how clean it was. And here's a couple of ads from that time period. The one on the left, don't worry, darling, you didn't burn the beer. Obviously very dated, very condescending. You know, we don't talk like that as men, right? But it's also kind of funny that, you know, that you would see an ad like that, you know, 100 years ago. And the ad to the right, it's actually a dialogue, and you can actually pull these up online. Just pull up, you know, vintage Schlitz beer ads. But these are ads that actually Claude Hopkins put together. But in the ad to the right, they actually talk about the beer being bilious. It has the least amount of biliousness, which is, I think, heartburn or something like that. Don't even really know what that is today. But a lot of these ads, they also talked about how 4 out of 5 doctors recommend Schlitz beer, which I'm pretty sure you can't do today. I mean, I know you can't do today because there wasn't an FDA back then, but just interesting. It's a different period, different time. But as he started doing these campaigns, they went from number 14 within 6 months to number 3. They gained that much market share because they were able to get the consumer to understand that there was something unique about the beer. But the question is, was it really all that unique? And the answer is no, it wasn't. In fact, even the CEO of Schlitz Beer said there's nothing unique. But the consumer had never heard how beer was made. Now it's very standard. We, you know, like I said, you go microbrewery, the first thing I want to do is give you a tour. So the takeaway to this is don't assume that the consumer knows what you do and how you do it. And that's really important. Most consumers have no idea how you fulfill your product or service. But there's credibility as you start telling that. In fact, every business needs to tell their extraordinary story. And we all have extraordinary stories to tell. There's a way that you fulfill your product and service that no one else will ever fulfill like that. And we think it's ordinary. You know, once again, it's a kind of the forest through the tree type thing. Inside perception, outside reality, call it what you want. But a lot of times we're doing our businesses day after day, and, you know, it's very ordinary to us. We don't understand that the consumer is not sitting there right next to us and seeing what we're doing. So that's the takeaway. So any questions, any thoughts? Let's open up for kind of discussion here.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you have a YouTube channel. Do you put these daily or the ones on there? Because I've been kind of going out there if I miss them to see if it's out there.
Yeah, every day. So I take the whole meeting, I package it up, I put it on YouTube, and then I send out an email. So yes. Any other comments? And, you know, I kind of ran through that pretty quickly, but does everybody agree? Do you have an extraordinary story to tell on what you do and how you do it? Okay. All right. So in closing, so we're going to make some changes here. We've been doing these meetings twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This next meeting that we're going to do on Thursday is actually going to be a meeting through Pinpoint Marketing. And so I started Small Business Phoenix Rising project. We've been doing it for about 2 months now. We've been doing these 2 Zoom calls every week, but now I'm wanting to implement some systems and some tools that business owners can use that are really going to be effective. And I'm going to cover those very specific on Thursday. It's all going to be about email. I'm a big proponent on email. Oh, sorry, lost it there for a second. And I'm going to go into great detail on a program that we're building that we are very, very excited about. That is something that every business can use to where they can get a marketing message out really quick and very economically. That's really, really important right now, is because cash flow is an issue for everyone. So remember, Pinpoint Marketing is going to be Thursday. I'm going to cover a back-end business email campaign that we've been working on for the last couple of months, and it's really helpful. If you want to reach out to me, you can actually contact me through the email that we have through Small Business Phoenix Rising or Andy at pinpointmarketingsolutions.com. Next meeting, as I mentioned, is going to be May 7th. That's 2 days from today. And anybody have anything, any thoughts? Is this helpful to everybody to kind of get in here and kind of see some of these things? Okay, great. And that's really where we're at. You know, you can't turn the TV on or listen to the radio where somebody's saying something about we're all in this together. I think eventually we're all going to kind of get a little numb to that, but it is the reality. There's a lot of hope in that also too, I think, because at one point or another, we are going to have this behind us. In my email that I send out, I did a video probably about 3 weeks ago where I talk about the fact that we're going to mitigate this. We're going to assess the risk, because there's many, many ways that a lot of people end up dying, and we don't shut down things just because, you know, there's other things that are going on. And it's because we've mitigated those risks. And at one point or another, this is going to be mitigated. They're going to have a vaccine, all those things. And I'm excited because it'll become a distant memory. We'll be able to all give each other hugs, kisses, if you're kind of into that type of thing. So thank you so much today. Once again, our next meeting is May 7th. And thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Andy, I just wanted to say thank you, because I've been busy the last couple of weeks putting together lead lists, and so I'm ready to implement an email marketing campaign. So the tools that you're providing me are giving me some great suggestions on kind of how to do that. So I just wanted to say thank you. So,
yeah, you bet. You're very welcome. Thank you for coming. So thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you, Andy. Goodbye, everybody.